Amazing concept cars. What makes a great concept car? Most concept cars are pretty dreamy, but the truly great ones generate excitement and give us a glimpse of our motoring future. And if they look good, well, that's an added bonus. Welcome back to MIA Luxury Cars, and here are the top 10 amazing concept cars we never got. Dodge Ram TRX. It was designed in 1997, 2 years after Post Malone was born, meaning it predates the Hennessy 6x6. It predates the Raptor. In fact, you might even say it's prehistoric. Now, just like a T-Rex has 3 arms, this truck has 3 axles and 6-wheel drive. It also had a big old Magnum V10 engine. Unfortunately, the big wigs and rich main offices at Dodge said that it was too awesome to produce, but there is a twist to this tale. A conspiracy theory, if you will. Dodge was owned by Mercedes, and at that time of the T-Rex, Mercedes decided, hey, we can't build these 6-wheel dinosaur trucks. Then, 10 years later, Mercedes decided to make a 6x6 version of the G-Wagon. Coincidence? Nissan Mid4. Back in 1985, Nissan unveiled a car which they said would be a competitor for Porsche and Ferrari. It was called the Mid4. Now, with a name like Mid4, you'd think that it would be a mid-engine car with 4-cylinder engine, right? Well, you'd be half right, but you'd also be half wrong. It was designed to achieve a brand new V6, and that V6 was going to be mounted behind the driver and sideways, right in the middle of the 4 wheels. Get it? Mid4 was also supposed to get all-wheel drive and 4-wheel steering. Really cool stuff for that time. Then in 1987, they made another one. They called it the Mid4 2, and that one had 2 freaking turbos on it. If they weren't going to make it, then why did you make a second one that was even cooler? Like a lot of concept cars, Nissan never actually planned to make this thing. It was meant to be a design study to showcase their cool technology and something that resembled a road-going car. It's like a mannequin at Old Navy where they just put an outfit on it. That's basically what a lot of these concept cars are. Mannequins at Old Navy where they put the outfits on them. Cool fact though, the Mid4's twin-turbo V6 did end up getting used in the Z32 300CX. Audi Avus Quattro. The Audi Quattro was the sickest Audi of the 80s, so when they stopped making it in 1991, it was a big deal. The question was, could Audi's next car revolutionize the industry like the Quattro's all-wheel drive system did way back in 1980s? What was Audi going to come up with next? The answer was the Audi Avus Quattro. It looks like it's from a Will Smith movie about a bunch of iRobots. It looks like it's from the future, but in reality, it's from the past, and the design was apparently influenced by the Audi's Streamliners, which were their land speed record cars from the 1930s. You can definitely see the connection. This shiny little concept that couldn't be had an all-aluminum space frame chassis, making it incredibly light and strong. This car was supposed to be powered by a 502 horsepower W12 engine, but when it debuted at 1991 Tokyo Motor Show, the engine was just a wooden model because they didn't get the real one done in that time, but sadly, it just wasn't meant to be. The recession of the early 90s led Audi to shelve the Avus project. It wasn't a total bust though. The aluminum frame was W12 did both find their ways into the 1994 Audi A8. Honda HPX. The Honda HPX is one of the most recognizable concept cars ever made, all thanks to the company that designed it. Pininfarina, the people behind some of the most beautiful cars ever made, asked Honda to design them a car that would show the world how capable this Japanese company was. At this time in the late 80s, Honda was still known more for its fast bikes and slow cars. So this was a big swing. This was a big deal. Pininfarina put their Ferrari designs away for a few months and whipped up the HPX, which is short for Honda's Pininfarina Experimental. HPX featured a mid-mountain V6, which was basically actually a Honda Formula 2 V8 with two-cylinder chopped off. The coolest thing about the HPX was its fighter jet style. It has a single-piece plexiglass bubble that slid forward when you want to get in and out of the car, just like the Goose and Maverick. Volkswagen W12. Volkswagen has a long history of making really good economy cars with a fun little twist, and that's why it was so surprising when they teased the world with a W12 Nardo in 1997. It was named after Nardo Ring, VW's test facilities where this very car smashed 12 speed records in a 24-hour test. During this test, W12 maintained an average speed of 200.6 miles per hour, and that's including stops for gas to fill up the driver's big gulps. VW's chief at that time, Ferdinand Peach, ordered the VW have a supercar in their fleet. It borrowed the technology for its W12 engine from the Audi Avus, which we just talked about. Time is a circle. It was designed by a Giorgetto Giugiaro, the genius legendary designer behind some of the most beautiful and innovative cars in the history of cars. Obviously, a W12 powered supercar was going to be a cost of a lot of money, but even Peach didn't realize just how much money it was actually going to cost. When the bean counters counted all the beans it was going to take to make every car, they were like, no way guys, this is way too many beans, and they vetoed the project. But there is a happy ending to this story because in 1998, Peach convinced the VW board to purchase Bugatti. So in the years that followed, VW turned over their W12 technology to Bugatti, and it was that technology and development which led to the Veyron. Steinwinter SuperCargo. This car is not all about the supercar, but very much a semi-truck. The Steinwinter SuperCargo was designed and built in Stuttgart, and debuted at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1983. The idea behind this ridiculous, pretty awesome looking vehicle was to reduce the footprint of semis on the world's roads. Normal semi-trucks are big bricks, and bricks aren't very aerodynamic, especially when they're big. Also, the gap between the cab and the trailer creates a lot of drag. So what do? Well, you make your cab flat and put it under the trailer. This thing had a big old Mercedes diesel that made 753 torques, and the whole thing was only half-inch taller than a Lamborghini Huracan, which is a very short car. This thing could carry a fully loaded shipping container on its roof, which towing another one behind it. So you've got this super buff, versatile truck the size of a Lambo. Sounds really good on paper, right? Unfortunately, this bad boy has its flaws. The driver's vision was really bad compared to a regular semi, which sits high up, has huge windows, and it turns out that Lambos aren't the most practical height for towing shipping containers. Reliability was also an issue. The stress to put on trucks is incredible, with engines and chassis expected to go like a million miles with just minor maintenance. Sadly, the SuperCargo just couldn't cut it. Mercedes pulled their funding, and that's all that it took for the semi-truck of the future to become a concept of past cars. Mazda RX-Vision. The Mazda RX-Vision was released at the Tokyo Motor Show in 2015 and was meant to be a glimpse into the future of Mazda's sports car, obviously drawing inspiration from their long line and incredibly successful road and race cars. The RX-Vision was a long, sleek front-engine rear-wheel drive with Ferrari engine. That's a good-looking car. It was designed using the KODO philosophy. What is the KODO philosophy, you ask? Well, Mazda designers try to make cars that encapsulate the beauty of life in the hope that by doing so, they can give the car a soul. Despite all the positives and all the cool stuffs, the beauty and the rotary and all that, it just wasn't meant to be. The RX-Vision never made it into the production, which sucks because this car would have been phenomenal. Mercury Montego SportsHauler. You guys probably don't remember the Mercury Montego. It was a mid-sized sedan released all the way back in the grandpa times in 1968. It was powered by a range of Ford V8s and was available as a 4-door sedan, a 2-door hardtop, a 4-door station wagon, or a 2-door convertible. But one Montego had made it to the market. What? And this is the one, the SportsHauler. And Unveiled at the 1972 Detroit Auto Show, the SportsHauler looked like Montego from the front but carried a surprise into the back. This boy had a compartment behind the two front seats and had an ATV in it. An ATV looks like a moon rover. The rear window and deck lid opened electronically. Then a tailgate dropped to the ground to form a ramp. So you could bring your moon rover out. Moon rovers aren't your jam? Okay, well, it could be replaced with a mini bike or a snowmobile. Datsun IDx. The Datsun 510 is a great little car. People love them. In 2013, Nissan released this 21st century reimagining of the 510 and the car community went wild. The IDX concept was marketed by Nissan as their answer to the rear-wheel drive tuner craze, and they claimed that it could be a direct competitor for the cars like Hyundai Genesis Coupe and the GT86BRZ FRS. The Nismo edition was set to have the same 230 horsepower engine from the Juke Nismo, which somehow did get made. It was all looking so good. Nissan said that they were going to make it. Journalists were even allowed to drive the fully functioning concept car, trying to figure out how long it would take them to depreciate until we could afford one. But as we know all too well from the other cars on the list, hype doesn't always turn into sales, and when Nissan ran the numbers on this relatively pricey concept, it just weren't a viable option and to be produced. Dodge CopperHead. The CopperHead was first shown at the 1997 North American Auto Show and was envisioned as a smaller, more affordable version of the Dodge Viper. So not only did Dodge shrink down the proportions of the Viper, giving the CopperHead a perfect baby Viper look, they also added sick aero, which would help the CopperHead to get the most out of its modest 220 horsepower V6 motor. It was low and wide, which gave it excellent handling overall, but by far the best part of the CopperHead was that it came with a 5-speed manual and rear-wheel drive. It was going to be priced at around $30,000. That's $45,000 less than a Viper, and you can imagine that at that price, just like every other awesome cars on the list, at that time Dodge was owned by Daimler and Mercedes, had their own small drop-tops cars, and the SLK, which was selling well in America. So that also contributed the CopperHead not being made. But the main reason that the CopperHead didn't get made was because of the SUV. Dodge wanted to focus on more lucrative areas of the market. So they decided to shelve the CopperHead and gave us the Dodge Durango. Dodge would use some of the CopperHead styling when they redesigned the Viper in 2003 for the second generation, and then even made a limited run of 300 CopperHead Vipers in 2005. But still, we were so close to having an American Miata.